Can you talk about the proper application of detachment in relation to physical and mental illness? Many people have an extremely difficult time not identifying with mental, especially, and physical illnesses, especially when they've suffered from them and have had to nearly center their lives around overcoming the illness to the point that it becomes an identity. How to properly use detachment in such cases? Very good question. Hmm. Excellent question, actually. And the truth of the matter is, the answer is not very different from anything else. And let me explain what I mean by this. Even when it comes to any sort of ailment that a person can have, whether physical, mental, or anything like this, it is a matter of, on the one hand, not identifying with that thing, understanding that we transcend that thing entirely in who we are, while at the same time not ignoring the problem. So it has to be a balance. On the one hand, we can't ignore the problem, whether it's a physical illness, whether it's any kind of mental, emotional illness, anything like this. We have to address it. We want healing. We want to be healed from that. The only way that we can be healed is indeed if we face it head on, not lie to ourselves and pretend that we don't have the problem. But at the same time, indeed, not making that problem our identity. You know, let me give the example that I've given in the past when it comes specifically to addiction, but then this also applies to this as well. So, for example, we have many people, of course, who are alcoholics, you know, and they'll often join something like AA. And one of the first steps is indeed to say, oh, I am an alcoholic. Now, on the one hand, this makes sense to admit the problem. It's important to admit the problem, but unfortunately what happens with many people when they follow the 12 steps of AA, and especially that one important step, is that then they make that their identity. It's not merely that they're saying, oh yes, I admit that I have a problem that I am now to face and overcome. It's that, no, this is my identity. It's like saying, oh, I am a man, I am a living being, I am, something that's truly a matter of identity. They will then identify with that problem to the point where they may be able to overcome it, but at a certain point they need to be able to let it go. And 50 years after you've stopped drinking alcohol, is it wise to still identify yourself as an alcoholic, as literally your identity? No, it's not. Because you're now identifying with something that is lower than your true self, something that really has nothing to do with you. It was an ailment. It's kind of like saying, oh, I had pneumonia. This is my identity now. I am he who has pneumonia. And you are still saying that 50 years after you've been cured. No, if you have pneumonia, you want to face that problem. You don't want to lie to yourself. But at the same time, not become so attached to that identity to the point where you can't move beyond it. So this is also true, not merely of addiction, but even physical and mental ailments as well. So let's say a person becomes paraplegic, or let's say they become paralyzed. Let's say, from the waist down, they're in a wheelchair, anything like this. On the one hand, you want to acknowledge this. You don't want to lie to yourself. Oh yes, I have this very bad physical ailment. I'm in a wheelchair. Let me do what I need to in order to live a good life despite this, etc. Get whatever medicine I need, see doctors, physical therapists, whatever I need to do. But at the same time, if this is your only sense of identity, oh, who are you? I am someone who is handicapped. That is my identity. That is who I am. That's no more true than any other sense of false identity. Saying, oh, I am, merely an American citizen. I am merely the owner of this house, etc., etc. All of these false identities that are there, which factually may be true, but they don't go down to the core essence of who we are. Am I a homeowner? Sure. Is that the core essence of my spiritual being? That would be horrible, because what happens if I lose my house? I lose the essence of my spiritual being. Well, in the same way, identifying too much with, again, any kind of ailment like this is also itself debilitating. So this is, again, the balance we want to have. We want to face our problems, whether it's either physical ailment, mental ailment, emotional, addiction, anything like this. But we also want to be detached, meaning that we don't identify, A, and B, we realize that it's temporary. Now, temporary may mean for the rest of this life. Again, what if you're born blind and oh, there's no cure or something like that? Oh, you'll be suffering from this for the rest of your life, but it's still temporary because this life itself only goes on for some time, and then we pass away. We have a new life where hopefully we won't be blind, etc. So this is where the detachment comes in, is in also understanding that ultimately, whatever ailment I have, it doesn't go on forever. Indeed, in some cases, it can end in this life. In other cases, it will end when this life ends. But it doesn't go on forever. But I do. Does that make sense? Very good.